It was Christmas Eve on the island of Sodor. Snowflakes were starting to fall as Thomas climbed the steep hill. He wanted to be back in his shed with his friends. The engine stockings were going to be hung soon, and Thomas didn't want to miss that. But Thomas was a really useful engine. He had 3 very important deliveries to make, and they could not wait. First was a freight car full of food to deliver to the community hall. All of the island of Sodor had been invited to come for a big celebration tomorrow, and there had to be enough food for everyone. When he arrived, there were many people around to help unload. Everyone was in a jolly mood, and the work went quickly. Suddenly, there was a shout. Mrs. Kindly had slipped on the snowy walk and dropped the bowl of cranberry sauce. She was not hurt. In fact, she looked very funny covered in sticky red goo. She laughed along with everyone else. When she got back on her feet, she walked over to Thomas and gave him a sticky pat. "Merry Christmas, Thomas," she said, and she went inside to clean up. "We're done," cried a workman. "Off with you, Thomas. You have a lot to do yet. Merry Christmas." "Peep, peep," whistled Thomas, and off he went into the gently falling snow. His next stop was to the big school on the hill. Some of the children were unable to go home for the holidays, and Thomas had many parcels to deliver so that they wouldn't feel lonely. The snow was coming down a little harder, but he still had plenty of time to get back to the engine shed and go to sleep before Father Christmas came. When Thomas pulled up near the engines to the school, some of the teachers came out and helped to organize the unloading of the packages. The children were having a snowball fight. A red-hatted boy in a green coat threw a large snowball that hit Thomas right in the side of the boiler. "Ha ha ha!" Thomas laughed. Everyone was helping to unload Thomas now, and he waited until the red-hatted boy was standing right next to him. Thomas let out a whoosh of steam. Whoosh! The steam loosened the snow on the roof, which slid and landed on the red-hatted boy's head. "You got me, Thomas," laughed the boy. Soon he was off again. The delivery was the most important of all. Thomas had presents to bring to the Children's Hospital in Bickerstown. All of the children were counting on Thomas to make sure their Christmas was a happy one. The snow was falling much faster now and was starting to get deep in some places. Thomas had to go carefully as so not to get stuck. He kept telling himself, "The children are counting on me, and this will show them Father Christmas what a really useful engine I am." Soon Thomas could see the lights of the hospital through the falling snow. As he pulled up, there were children at the windows, cheering his arrival. While the doctors and nurses helped to unload all the parcels, Sir Topham Hatt came out of the hospital and walked right up to Thomas. "Thomas," said Sir Topham Hatt, "I have a very important joke for you. There's a little boy with a broken leg who lives in the last house before the tunnel to Bellevue. It is snowing too hard for his mother to come to get us to a train. I need you to take this up to the house." "Of course," peeped Thomas. "I am a really useful engine. But, sir, my stocking wasn't hung before I left. Father Christmas will forget me." "Nonsense, Thomas," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Father Christmas will be as proud of you as I am." So Thomas headed off again. By now the wind was howling all around him, and there was so much snow blowing that he was very hard to see. Thomas for once wished he had his snowplow as he moved slowly up the track. Suddenly, the wind dropped and there was no more snow. He missed the house altogether, and he pulled into the tunnel. He stopped and stared, and started rolling slowly backward until he could see the lights of the house next to the tunnel. "Peep, peep, peep," he whistled again. and again, afraid he wouldn't be heard over the wind. At last the boy's mother came hurrying from the house, tightly wrapped in a long scarf. Thomas could see the boy in the doorway waving. "Thank you, Thomas," he cried. "You are my favorite engine." Then the boy and his mother went back inside and closed the door against the storm. Slowly, Thomas made his way home. He was worried the Father Christmas might not be able to find the engine shed in the storm. When he finally got back to the shed, it was very late at night. The Christmas tree was still lit, and all of the engine stockings, including Thomas's, hung in a row. Thomas was very tired, and he fell asleep in an instant. He dreamed that he had some presents in his stocking when the morning came. "Good morning, Thomas. Merry Christmas, Percy." Thomas woke with a start. He looked down. There was his stocking, and there was a note sticking out of it. "Dear Thomas, thank you for being so kind and helpful. You are a really useful engine." The note wasn't signed, but Thomas thought he knew who it was from. Then he looked in the stocking. It was full to the top of the very thing he wanted most: coal.